Hey, and welcome to this lesson on multiplying and dividing rational expressions. Our essential question and objectives: how do we multiply and divide radical expressions? So we are going to multiply radical expressions, divide radical expressions, and then once we do that, we will simplify those radical expressions. Our standards: apply and extend the properties of exponents to solve problems with rational exponents. Write expressions in equivalent forms to solve problems, and extend the knowledge of rational functions to rewrite in equivalent forms. So starting off, it's important to know these properties when multiplying or dividing radicals. These are the two main properties that you should know, and that is if the nth root of a and the nth root of b are both real numbers, then the nth root of a times the nth root of b equals the nth root of a times b. That is important as long as n is the same. So for example, if I have the square root of 4 times the square root of 3, it is equal to, in fact, the square root of 12. However, if I had the square root of 4 times the cube root of 3, I could not write that any other way. I cannot simplify that. This is as simple as it gets. I cannot multiply those numbers because the root is different. Okay? And the converse of that is also true. For example, if I have the square root of 12, I can break that down as the square root of 4 times the square root of 3. If n to the a, the nth root of a and the nth root of b are real numbers and b does not equal 0, this is the same thing but with division. So if I have 2 square root of 4 over, not 2 square root of 4. If I have the square root of 4, actually just make it cube root of 4. If I have the cube root of 4 over the cube root of 2, I can rewrite that as the cube root of 4 over 2. Now I can write that the same way. If I have the cube root of 2, I can write that, or the cube root of 4 over 2, I can write that as the cube root of 4 over the cube root of 2. So here's an example I might use those properties on when multiplying these two. I'm going to break this down as much as possible. So first I'm going to multiply everything through. So 72 times 10 is 720. So I'm going to have 720 times x cubed times x is x to the 4th. Y cubed times y squared is y to the 5th. Okay, that's what happens when I multiply them through. And then if I simplify that, that's going to equal, I can also write that 720 as 4 times 4 times 3 times 3 times 5. I can write that x squared as x to the 4th is x squared times x squared. And I can write that y to the 5th as y squared times y. So if I take out of this radical all the squares or all the roots, or the second roots, so 4 times 4, if I square root 4 times 4, I get 4. So I can take that out of the radical. 3 times 3, if I square root that, I get 3. I can take that out of the radical. 5 is by itself, so I can't do that, but x squared times x squared, if I square root that, I get x squared. Anything times itself, I can take the square root of that and get itself. Y squared times y squared, I get, if I take the square root of that, I get y squared. And y is by itself, so I can't take that out. So I write my radical, and I have 5 and the y left inside. And if I simplify the outside, I get 12x squared y squared times the square root of 5y. And that is my simplest form of the radical expression. Here's a look at your homework for this lesson. You start off with a little bit of review, true and false, about denominator, numerator, things like that. You're going to go into a vocabulary builder. It talks about the word combine and what exactly that means, and you're going to use that and answer a couple questions. And then you're going to go on into combining radical expressions and their products. You're going to review properties and certain things, and then you're going to apply those properties to problems. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, BBIM, email, text message, or phone call, whichever is easiest for you. You can meet me in the Math Cafe Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 11 a.m. If that doesn't fit your schedule, you can meet any teacher in there from 9 to 3, Monday through Friday. There's a math teacher in there that's willing to help you with any problems you have with your math assignments. And be sure to come to live session where we'll talk about this a little more in depth and really understand what's going on.